Between the three entries in the Stalker series, we have some clearly defined definitions. Shadow of Chernobyl is the most put together, the most complete, with the best atmosphere. Call of Pripyat is big and empty, and lowers the graphics a little, but that's not a bad thing. Then we have Clear Sky, the Dark Souls 2 of Stalker. Now, I would hope by this point, everybody knows the story of Clear Sky. If you don't, I'm not going to be the one to ruin it for you, because the story isn't something I want to go over. But playing as a merc and discovering this new faction, regardless of if they're reskinned ecologists, is really cool and interesting, not to mention the fact that you are more or less immune to emissions, even if you're on a timer, so to speak. But why is Clear Sky regarded as the worst game out of the trilogy? What makes it so bad? Putting my personal interjections aside, I took to the web to see what others thought about this game. Clear Sky has terrible grenade spam, not unlike Call of Duty World at War on Veteran. It has a lot of bugs, and more bugs. And even something about the bleeding mechanic being broken, but I never really experienced this. Here's a big one. You know the faction wars, the big thing that GSC peddled to try and market Clear Sky for some reason. Apparently, it's also buggy and broken too. Factions will never send help to capture points, leading the player to have to do everything themselves, which isn't really fair. The MG in Cordon is a huge filter as well, with many players opting to return to the swamps just so they can get back to the Northern Cordon transition and avoid it entirely. GSC made this game in a year or so, right? So aside from it being rushed, there wasn't much original map design. The majority of them were just copied over with 2 new maps. And for a game that lends itself so heavily to the shooting side, it appears to mess that up too, as well as it being a necessity to upgrade weapons for them to do anything or make a difference at all. Clear Sky may or may not softlock in the Great Swamp tutorial, and it will not be readily apparent until you try to finish it. The squad system wasn't done well, and mutants were also seen as squads, which didn't sit well with fans. The linear, fast-paced Call of Duty gameplay at the end was also a tense point for many in the community. Lots of features that debuted in Clear Sky would later be honed and refined in Call of Pripyat, though, such as artifact hunting. On this issue, artifacts appear to be set spawns, rather than anything dynamic or randomly spawned. You could see how this might be an issue. Warfare in this game doesn't seem to actually accomplish anything permanently, so what's the point? With the old maps used, there are only 2 new areas, and one of them is linear. The story isn't much of its own, it just piggybacks off of S.T.A.L.K.E.R. Hey, Merc, get this PDA. Now this one, but this one is underground. And yet others say that side quests are very well made, with lots of content to be had. They say that Clear Sky has better soundtracks, better missions, better cutscenes. And people say that accuracy is unfair. They also say that the ending battle can bug out multiple times in differing ways. Clear Sky is the shortest game of the series. Monolith makes an appearance at the very end, but contributes nothing to the story or the lore apart from capturing S.T.A.L.K.E.R. There's 2 occasions where you are robbed of your money, with no opportunity at all to get it back. Friendly fire is a bigger issue in this game than the others. Overall though, the best solution is apparently to just carry 60 bandages, and after that, the game opens up. Or so they say. Shotguns are snipers against you, but a pea shooter when used yourself. Clear Sky doesn't have much of the atmosphere Shadow of Chernobyl does, instead going to a sunny, bright rendition. Can you see why that doesn't fit? Poor optimization, the lack of pacing, with some arguing that liking to take their time with the game is heavily put down, especially with GSC's timed missions. In addition to this, the stash system. Spawning stashes only when the location is known to the player makes people feel exploration isn't valued here. Why look around if there is nothing of value to be found until it's on your PDA? Then there's the fact that you could no longer return after going to Limansk. Enemies can see you through brush in the swamps, while you can't see them. Enemies also feel the spongiest, and yet the apologists say that Clear Sky introduced the most of the series via graphics, emissions, detectors, invisible artifacts, new environments in general. There are even such posts I find that read, "Was Stalker Clear Sky designed to make you want to stop playing?" Isn't that a crazy title? But let's get into it. This game is just fucked. It's like it's made to make you want to quit. The game starts pretty rough compared to the other games. I get through the annoying swamp using some shitty pistol and shotgun, then I'm greeted by a machine gun nest that takes me 15 attempts to get through. Then I finally get to the garbage, join the loners, and get into the cool faction war, and start enjoying the game. I gather some artifacts, stock up on some bandages, and find a black kite, Ventar, and a 301 rifle. I go on some raids and do some quests for the loners. After going around and killing most of the bandit squads, I raid their main base. I have maybe 30k in cash at this point. But now the game fucks with me again. I go back to the loner base to sell some gear, and just as I come back, I get a message. The garbage is overrun. I go back and retake their base, and go back to the loner base again, and the bandits there retake the base again. They have like 0 resources and a couple of squads. I retook that base like 3 times until I gave up on it. Now, I go to the Freedom base and do some quests, loot stashes, and upgrade my 301 rifle. Then I get to this part of the game where the bandits rob me of all of my money. WTF is the point of all of this? I had like 60k in cash at this point. I almost quit the game until I found some money glitch. I'm kinda liking this game, but it feels unfinished, and there's really bad game design here. Why do they punish me for actually playing the game? The robbery would be fine if it happened early in the game. Was I just meant to rush through the game and come back to the garbage later? The top reply was, yeah, CS is rough, it's got its charm, but it's still considered the weakest of the series. As this user so aptly put it, why does the game punish you to play it? Although he did have some valid points, both good and bad. I found Clear Sky a bit of a slog to get through myself, but it could have been much worse. Then there are people using SRP and mods to make Clear Sky playable at all. What do you think? Is it playable? Does Clear Sky deserve this hate, or is it woefully sold short? If there's any points I missed, glazed over, or neglected entirely, please let me know.